All right, let's jump right in. I want you to think about your car for a second. You wouldn't drive it for years and years without changing the oil or getting a tune-up, would you? Of course not. You know it needs regular maintenance to perform its best. Well, guess what? Your website is exactly the same. It's the engine that drives your business, and to keep it running at peak performance, it absolutely needs a regular tune-up. And this right here is where so much of the trouble begins. There's this super common and honestly pretty dangerous misconception out there. You pour all this time, money, and energy into launching a beautiful new website, you flick the switch and you think, phew, okay, the work is done. But the truth is, the real work has just begun. So what really happens when you just walk away, when you forget about it? Well, a neglected website doesn't just sit there collecting digital dust. No, it actively starts to decay. It begins falling apart in ways you might not even notice at first. That is, until your traffic starts tanking and your rankings disappear. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are the actual signs of this decay? We're going to look at 3 of the biggest ways that neglect can slowly but surely sabotage your website's performance in search engines. First on the list is something called link rot. This happens when you link out from your site to other pages on the web. Maybe it's a great resource, a study you're citing, or a partner's website. But over time, things change. Those external sites might change their web addresses or just get taken down completely. And suddenly, your link, which once pointed to something valuable, now leads to a dead end, a 404 not found error. So why is this such a big deal? Well, here's the bottom line. A website that's full of broken links sends a very clear signal to Google. It basically screams, this site is abandoned. It tells search engines that you're not maintaining your property and that you're providing a bad experience for users. And since Google's entire job is to give users the best possible experience, it's going to demote sites that look neglected. Okay, next up is a silent killer of website performance, speed creep. This is the natural tendency for websites to get slower and slower over time. It doesn't happen overnight, it's gradual. Bit by bit, your once snappy site starts to feel sluggish, unresponsive, and just slow. So what's causing this slowdown? Well, it's usually not just one thing. Every new plugin you add brings more code. Maybe your team is uploading huge images that haven't been properly optimized for the web. Over time, your code gets bloated with old logs and data. It all just adds up, creating this drag that slows the whole thing down. And the third major problem isn't even a technical one. It's all about the information on your pages. You see, content has a shelf life. The article that was fresh, relevant, and super valuable 2 or 3 years ago, well, today it might be outdated, or even worse, just plain wrong. And this really says it all. I mean, just imagine a potential customer lands on your blog, and they see you're still talking about statistics from years ago. What does that do? It instantly torpedoes your credibility. It tells them, and it tells Google, that your website is no longer a current, authoritative source of information. Okay, so we've diagnosed the issues. We've got link rot, speed creep, and stale content. It might sound a little grim, but the good news is all of this is fixable. So let's talk solutions. Let's walk through a clear, totally manageable tune-up process to get your website back into peak condition. Here's your core 3-step checklist. First, audit for errors. You can use a tool called an SEO crawler. It basically scans your site, just like Google does, to find and fix all those broken links. Second, monitor your site speed. You've got to run regular tests to make sure your pages are loading quickly and meeting Google standards, which are called the core web vitals. And third, refresh that old content. Use your analytics to find pages that are starting to lose traffic, and then breathe new life into them with up-to-date information and fresh examples. I think this is such a great way to think about it. Maintenance isn't a chore, it's protection. A regular tune-up schedule is basically an insurance policy you take out to protect one of your most valuable business assets, your position in search engine results. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little complicated, but here's the thing. You are not alone in this process. You actually have a really powerful ally that will help you diagnose exactly what needs to be fixed. And this is the part that blows a lot of people's minds. You don't have to guess what the problems are. Using a totally free tool called Google Search Console, Google will literally tell you what's wrong. They'll send you alerts and detailed reports on the problems they find. They actually want you to fix this stuff. And just look at the kind of detail you get. It's like a full diagnostic report from a mechanic. It'll tell you about pages it can't access, if you have issues on mobile devices, if there are security vulnerabilities, and of course, it reports on those all-important core web vitals related to your site's speed. It's basically a roadmap for what to fix next. So all of this really leads us to one final and I think crucial takeaway. Performing a regular tune-up isn't just about checking boxes off a list. It's about a fundamental shift in your mindset, a new way of thinking about what it really takes to succeed with SEO for the long haul. Because here's the reality of the situation. The finish line is always moving. Google's algorithm is in a constant state of change. A clever tactic that got you to the top of the rankings last year could be completely ineffective or even get your site penalized a couple of years from now. The only way to stay ahead is with constant vigilance. And this comparison just makes it crystal clear. The sprint mindset is all about the launch. It's a short-term project with one goal: get to page 1. The attitude? Set it and forget it. But the winning strategy, the marathon mindset, is completely different. It's an ongoing commitment. The goal isn't just to get to page 1, it's to stay on page 1. And that requires vigilance and continuous maintenance. That's the mindset of a winner. So I'll leave you with this one simple but really important question to think about. That powerful engine that drives your business, your website. When was its last tune-up? If you can't remember, well, now is probably a pretty good time to schedule one.